The 2009 to 2015 BMW 7 Series, also known as the F01/F02 chassis code. I've tested this vehicle in the past and I genuinely do love driving this car. It was the F02, otherwise known as the long wheelbase version of the 7 Series. The F01 is the standard wheelbase, but I drove the F02 750 Li, really impressed with it. I love the twin turbocharged V8 engine. It is an absolute rocket, and this generation still had that driving character. It's not like the newer BMW products that feel absolutely soulless and lifeless. No, this is a fun car to whip around and to drive hard. I enjoyed my time with it. The features, especially for its time, were phenomenal. You know, you had your heads-up display, your heated and cooled seats, great audio system, decent leather quality, but iDrive was not really the best. Anyway, there was no real fault in driving this car. Comfort, the isolation, the performance, no issues there. You're gonna love it. But in this video, I'm gonna be talking about the issues that you can run into, some resources that you can use, maintenance, the current 7 Series buying market, and if this car is truly worth buying in today's economy with everything that's going on. So let's get started and let's talk about the common issues. All right, if you've seen any of my previous buyer's guide videos, this is going to be essentially the same. I'm going to be recommending to you the same resources. And the best resource you can use to find out any issue with just about any car that you're interested in is nhtsa.gov. You come to this website, I just typed in here 2009 BMW 7 Series. You scroll down and we have 26 complaints in the complaints section. We have 3 recalls, 2 of which is in regards to the water pump failure, and we also had a tire pressure label problem. There are no new investigations, but we have 338 manufacturer communications, also known as TSBs or technical service bulletins. These are issues that the manufacturer themselves find with their own product. Granted, there's a lot of redundancy here, the same thing being repeated over and over again, so it's not quite 338 issues, but you get the idea. So obviously I am not going to go through each and every one of these, but it would be in your best interest to go through this, and definitely check out the complaints section on NHTSA. This section, this is where owners like you and me would write in and talk about the issues that they are experiencing with the product. So this is very valuable as well. You have people where the engine is seizing up. Other owners are experiencing roughness in the drive with the suspension, the transmission, and the vehicle almost shutting off and causing issues. There's also individuals with oil leak issues with their engine, and that costed them $2,600 just to have that repaired. Another person is talking about the BMW V8 engines, and one of the major flaws being the valve stem seals and the timing chains. These issues cause catastrophic damage to the engine and the emission systems. So you got all of those juicy bits of information just on NHTSA. Another resource that I like to use is carcomplaints.com. It essentially takes all the information from that previous website and it does a good job in compiling it in an easy to digest format. So you can come here, select the 09 750. Obviously this is the first model year of this generation. Clearly you should never buy the first model year of any vehicle. It's going to have the most amount of issues. But you come to car complaints and you scroll over to the TSB section, and it does a much better job in laying out the various TSBs. And now you can use Control F and you can sort through these, and you can see that there are various steering, suspension, engine, transmission issues. The list goes on and on. What you have to keep in mind with a big body flagship sedan like this is that it weighs a lot, so you're going to naturally be running into control arm, suspension issues, steering rack issues, and all of these things. That alone will naturally cost you thousands of dollars to replace. Most people buying vehicles like this, especially used, they don't have the money or the budget to fix said suspension or steering issues, and that's how you end up with clapped out cars. People neglecting and ignoring issues simply because they can't afford it, and then they go dump it at some buy here pay here lot, because that's just the nature of these vehicles. You know, these are six figures when they were new. You can get them for like 10 grand in the used market today, but clearly, as we are discussing, this is not going to be a blessing to you. A lot of people, they get caught up with the engine and the transmission. They just focus on if that's reliable. Honestly, that's not even the biggest issue here. It's everything else that you can't see or really think about, like the electronics. These cars are full of electronics, sensors, and actuators. If that breaks, that's going to cost thousands of dollars. And yes, the V8 engine in particular has a lot more issues than the inline six engines. I knew a person at the Mercedes-Benz dealership. He had a 550 BMW, the F10 generation, so the same generation as this 7 Series that we're talking about. He had a myriad of issues with his 550 and his V8 engine. It was always in the shop, always causing issues. And as we see in the TSBs, you know, there are oil leak and valve stem seal issues, and there were even class action lawsuits against BMW for these issues. And there was one interesting thing that I saw in the TSB section, and that was a 10-year, 120,000 mile warranty extension for the N63 V8 engines. Basically, BMW extended the warranty for the engine fuel injectors. Cars that had a difficult time starting up or had a rough idle or misfires, BMW deemed that that was an engine fuel injector issue, so they extended the warranty to be able to replace that for you. The key takeaway from all this, it's too much to count. If you own one of these cars outside of a warranty, you are absolutely SOL. And these cars are too old at this point. Most banks won't even finance these cars anymore due to their age. And finding a warranty, well, most of them might be a little sketch. And due to the age of these cars, there are no longer any certified pre-owned 7 Series of this generation, and the most affordable CPO 7 Series on the market right now, they range between $45,000 to $50,000, which I will talk about in a different segment. But for right now, what you have to understand is there are so many issues to count, and we haven't even talked about maintenance yet. These cars require some tedious maintenance. There was one individual on the Beamer Fest forum. They shared with us the official 7 Series kind of service manual. So I'll have that thread linked in the description box below. And that shows you the maintenance cycle. I mean, yeah, you really need a good BMW tech nearby that you trust to work on this car if you plan on buying it. But let's say you find a warranty, great, okay, so now you have the repairs covered, but now you still have to worry about maintenance, insurance, property tax, sales tax, and tires. Tires are going to cost over $1,000 for a vehicle like this, and you're probably going to spend a fortune on just oil, because these cars also have a tendency of consuming high amounts of oil. So that's something else that you run into with these high mileage BMW products, or really any used vehicle. Most used cars, they have this high oil consumption issue once they pass 60, 70, or 100,000 miles. So is this a blessing to most people? I really don't think so. But in the next segment, you're going to see why so many people are interested in cars like this. So let's talk about the current market and pricing for the F01/F02 7 Series. All right, I'm on Car Gurus right now, and I like using this website because it's really easy for me to filter out the accident cars, the salvage title, etc. The reason why I do that is because cars with an accident or a salvage title, etc., they're going to carry lower resale value when you go to trade it in, but also you have no idea how the previous body shop put these cars back together, so it'll never be back to OEM spec. So for those reasons, I would rather avoid all of the accident, frame damage, salvage title cars. And when you do that, for this generation, there are about 267 of these 7 Series cars available for sale throughout the country, and the cheapest of which, well, they're a little under $8,000, and this is why so many people want these vehicles. And it's typically with 120 to 160,000 miles on it. So yeah, this is a lot of car for the money. And as I already mentioned, these things are amazing to drive. They look clean, right? The design, obviously the headlights and stuff, that's going to be all yellowed out, but other than that, this is a nice, decent looking vehicle. And the more clean, lower mileage variations of this, it's going to be around $20,000 to $25,000. So great, it's relatively affordable to buy, but here's the issue. I don't want the wrong people purchasing cars like this. The wrong person buys this, they're going to be totally screwed. At these types of mileages, over 100,000, you can expect a lot of suspension problems. Brakes probably need to be replaced. That's going to be vibrating, right? It's another thing about these heavy cars. You're going to be going through brakes pretty frequently if you're driving hard, and you have all the other various costs that I mentioned. So people on a tight budget, it's going to be very difficult to keep up and maintain this. This is great for like rich people who just have 10 to 15 grand to blow, or one of those YouTubers, right, that say, oh, I just bought this 7 Series with 300,000 miles on it for 5 grand. They can make their money back through their YouTube videos. But for the average person, that's just not possible. For a rich person that can just blow 10 grand, they can buy the car, drive around, annihilate it, and once it self-destructs, they can just send the car to their local junkyard and they can be done with it. They got their experience and they're finished and they can move on. Teenagers looking to buy this as like their first car, yeah, I really want to steer those people away. This is not going to be an asset in your life. And I mentioned before, most banks, they won't even do financing on these cars because they're too old. Initially, I wasn't going to include this section in the video, but I figured if you don't hear this from me, you're not going to hear it from anybody else, because the rest of the world simply does not care enough to educate us on such topics. But I'm going to share with you in this section the realities of car financing. When you do a traditional car finance from any bank, any lender, dealership, doesn't matter, wherever you go, the reason why so many people end up underwater with their cars is because what banks typically do is they front load all of the interest in the car loan, meaning you take out a 60 or a 72 month finance term. The first 2 to 3 years, you're building very little equity in the car. The majority of your payments are going towards the interest. So this means the bank is ensuring that they get their profit first by baking in that interest up front. And this is exactly how mortgages work as well. The first 10 years of that mortgage, you are primarily paying off the interest of the loan. So now when the bank has to foreclose on your property or repossess your car, they already built up their profit, and now they can just take your car, your house, your whatever, and auction it off, sell it for cheap, and they just make even more profit off of you. So that's the reality of traditional car financing and why so many people are underwater with their cars. And this problem compounds, especially when you're financing in this crazy economy with insane interest rates. I mean, let's say you find a bank that will finance a 2015 7 Series. The interest rate is probably going to be 12 or 15%. I'm not even exaggerating. And not to mention, these cars just tank in value. So you have depreciation, you have the front-loaded interest on the loan, and you have the crazy interest rates that they're charging. You are never going to win in this economy, especially when you're chasing these used cars. And this is why, even pre-pandemic, I really wanted people to avoid the used car market as much as possible. And it's funny because the mainstream media tells everyone that leasing is like throwing away money. But the reality is you build up more equity in the first 3 years of a lease than you do with a finance. And then it's up to you whether you want to buy out the lease, purchase the car, or if you want to just trade it in like a typical finance vehicle, or you can just give the car back. You have 3 options there. Whereas with a finance car, you're stuck with it. God forbid you get into an accident on a finance car, the value of your vehicle just decreased, and some sketchy body shop is going to put it back together, and it's going to be of questionable quality. Whereas you get into an accident with a lease car, you can just take it back to the dealership, never have to worry about the loss from an accident showing up on your Carfax. And again, I'm going to be talking more about leasing in the next segment, and also I'm going to have a free leasing calculator in the description box below, so you can double check the interest rate that you're paying on the lease of just about any new car. And something that a lot of wealthy people like to do is they'll use specially designed and engineered whole life insurance policies, and that way they can purchase cars by taking out a loan against their death benefit, and now they can use that loan to purchase pretty much anything. There's no credit checks because it's their own money that they're using as collateral against their death benefit. And now they can go out and they can buy a car that's however many years old. It doesn't matter. A 1980s car, a 2000 car, it doesn't matter. They can buy anything through these whole life insurance policy loans. And on top of that, they don't even have to pay back that loan if they don't want to. It just gets subtracted off of the death benefit. But again, those are high level, high tier financing strategies that pretty much the most sophisticated people use. The average person pretty much can't wrap their head around such a concept, but I'm just sharing with you what's possible. I don't even care if this makes sense to you or not. If you can digest it, that's besides the point. I just want to let you know what's really possible out there. Many people like to play the victim, but I would rather adapt and learn these other concepts and other ways of purchasing. I would at least like people to learn more about leasing because that is such a powerful resource. So check out the Lease Hacker forum. All of that stuff is going to be linked in the description box below. Heck, people would lease hack Toyota Tacomas and they would just keep driving new Tacos and cash in on the positive equity because those cars have phenomenal resale value. And it would eventually get to a point where they're literally driving Tacos for free or even getting paid to drive Tacos. Now that's a far different situation from what most people are in, where they are underwater on their cars or they're driving some old dusty vehicle. You know, there's always that person in the comment section saying that, oh, I have my 1874 Toyota Corolla with 900,000 miles on it and it's never broken down and I've never had any issues with it. I've only done oil changes and tires. And that person thinks that they are winning. In no universe is driving a 300-year-old car with 1 million miles on it considered winning. You're driving that old dusty looking car that has zero safety. You can get hit by a bicycle and it'll total out your car. Not to mention, if you're the primary breadwinner of the family and you're driving around in that old clapped out dusty car, you better have some good life insurance on your body because your family is counting on you to earn an income, and you driving around in these nasty, unsafe cars, that is not a blessing. You are not winning by driving that old, nasty car around. So I'm trying to open people's perspectives and showing them that, yeah, you can kind of sort of have your cake and eat it too. You just got to learn about these concepts. We all have access to the same amount of information. We have infinite knowledge at our fingertips and we never use it. It's called Google. You can research any of these topics because don't just take my word for it. I'm not your financial advisor. I'm not telling you what to do with your money. This is just for entertainment's sake, but I'm just planting seeds in your mind so you can go out and you can do further research on the topics that I just discussed with you here, because I want people to have nice things. I don't like sacrificing, but we have to learn these concepts. So you can talk to a CPA, you can watch some YouTube videos, do some Google searching, whatever. That's on you. That's all I wanted to share in this section. In the next, I'm going to be talking about alternatives to the 7 Series. All right, if you're stuck on wanting to buy a good car for around $10,000 to $12,000, honestly, the Lexus ES350 and the Lexus RX350, remarkably solid cars. Out of all the vehicles I've done these kind of buyer's guide videos on, those two Lexus products are insanely solid. Very minimal issues. If you're going to take a chance on a car and buy something without a warranty, but you still want something luxury, ES350 and the RX350, really solid. I would definitely stick with the RX because that was a little bit safer, but whatever, that's your call. Me personally, I just like to lease and dump cars. And the thing about these 7 Series vehicles is, pre-pandemic, we were able to lease these cars brand new for like $700 a month. Yeah, those were the glory days of leasing. And you can still kind of sort of get good deals like that, but just on different cars. Like a new Mercedes EQS that leases for less than $700 a month. That is their flagship EV. If you can make an EV work, yeah, the EQS leases out extremely well. Same thing with the Audi e-trons. People got that for around $800 a month. So those are some 6-figure cars that you can still lease for under $800 if you're okay with an EV. But a new 7 Series, you know, that's around $1,600 a month. Not the best deal. It just came out. An M550i 2023 5 Series, if you're lucky and you can get 10% off MSRP, you could get that for $1,100 a month. But the Audi S8 is currently the best vehicle to lease as of right now. I'm recording this video August of 2023. Leasing programs change every single month. So if you're watching this in the future, these lease deals most likely will not apply, but as of right now, you can get like 10% off MSRP on a new Audi S8, and there's like 20 grand worth of incentives that you can qualify for. So on a $120,000 S8, you're literally getting a brand new one for 90 grand. That is really remarkable, and the payments are around $1,200 to $1,300 a month. So that is the best flagship sedan deal right now. But I think one of the most affordable luxury cars to lease right now is like an Audi A5 Sportback for around $600 a month. And some of you might be saying, oh my gosh, none of these cars compete with the 7 Series. Well, I am here to teach people how to drive really nice, new, decent vehicles at an affordable price. I don't necessarily care what competes with what. I'm just trying to give people the best bang for their buck at the time of this recording. So all the mockers, scoffers, and trolls, you can leave your bright ideas down below and let us know what car you're driving. That would also be of a great help. But I'm just showing people another avenue of how they can drive nice cars that are not clapped out, but instead are brand new. Because let's face it, I mean, a lot of people say leasing is like throwing away money, but in reality, buying that old clapped out 7 Series, that is truly wasting money. Most people are wasting money on cars. This is something that you will never win with. Vehicles will always be a perpetual loss to us. So if you're gonna lose, you might as well lose in style and drive something new instead of something with clapped out suspension. And if you want to run leasing numbers and research incentives, I'm going to leave AutoCompanion's free leasing calculator in the description box below. Next, we can conclude and I can share with you some final good resources that you can use. Alright, concluding thoughts. Obviously, I love driving this generation of the 7 Series. It's just for the wrong people, they're simply never going to be able to afford it. So that's why I suggest either the Lexus ES350 or the RX. And those are genuinely really great driving cars as well, but in a different way, obviously. So I would urge you to shop in that direction if you're really wanting a car that's under 15 grand and you refuse to buy a warranty. And if you're interested in buying new cars, definitely check out the Lease Hacker forum. It's a phenomenal resource for checking out current deals and just doing in general market research. Also, if you're stuck on the 7 Series and you want to know more information, you can go to edmunds.com, and Edmunds does a really good job in showing you what's new for every new model year of a vehicle. So you can type in the 09 7 Series and you can just click through the various model years to see what's new for each new model year. And you can of course use the forums. As I mentioned, one person did a great job in sharing with us the maintenance schedule for this generation of the 7 Series, and I'll have that linked below. And along with NHTSA and carcomplaints.com, you can also use the forums like Beamerfest to see what kind of common issues other owners are experiencing with their cars. What's funny is one individual asked if the F01 is as bad as the E65 or the E66 previous generation 7 Series, and it's hilarious to read people's thoughts on this. People are like, it's a bigger POS with all the same issues with a few more. It's just remarkable to me that everyone understands in this forum that these cars are not a good idea to buy, but they still buy them, and then they'll also mock it at the same time. It makes no sense to me. Or they'll just buy it in the wrong way. You know, they'll buy it without a warranty. They'll buy one that's not certified pre-owned, or they refuse to lease it, yet they keep complaining about how expensive it is to fix and to maintain these cars, yet they still buy them used without a warranty. It just makes no sense to me. It is what it is. Hopefully I gave you some great resources, and hopefully you appreciate this knowledge and information. This is stuff that literally no other car journalist is ever going to bother to share. So if you appreciate this, please be sure to like and subscribe. Thanks again for watching. Take care and goodbye.